of the movie and got to hear all of your reactions as you were watching the wedding scene. And it's so exciting. This is your opening night.
Opening night, yes.
This is your hometown.
Hometown.
Excited crowd.
Excited crowd? Yay, thank you.
How does it feel to finally have this movie out in the world?
Oh my God, how does it feel to finally have this movie out in the world? It is surreal, it's so thrilling, so thrilling. This movie is really close to my heart. It's been 5 years in the making. It's in theaters, which is huge. That's so rare for a movie of this size, and it's so exciting.
This is obviously adapted from the popular novel by Renée Carlino. The two of you, thank you, the two of you actually collaborated on the script. So when exactly did this come together, and how did the story come to you?
Well, actually, the whole genesis for this project is Gabby Kono-Abdi, who plays Helen in the movie. She slid into my DMs on Instagram 5 years ago and said, I read somewhere that you're really interested in directing. And she was right. I've really been wanting to direct for a long time and actively looking for the right story to tell, and couldn't figure it out until she sent me this book. She said, what about this? And she sent it to my agents, and I still have the letter that she wrote. And she was 25 years old, which is really, she had a lot of chutzpah and tenacity. But she was totally right. I fell in love with the book. I had a visceral response to it. I laughed, I cried, I laughed through my tears. And I thought this is the perfect thing for me to do. And that gave me the confidence to really finally say, okay, I'm gonna direct something. Renée we didn't really collaborate on the screenplay side by side. She had a script that she had written, and then when I agreed to sign on as director, I was like, I kind of want to make it my own. And she gave me her blessing and said, that she trusted me, and then once I had finished my version of the script, she gave me some notes, and then we were off and running, and I sent it to producers that I had worked with as an actress, the Fife-In team. But it took us 5 years to really get it financed and cast, and we were all ready to start shooting in the summer of 2023, I want to say, or 24, I forget, and then 23. And the SAG strike happened, and so we had to wait for that to be done. But here we are. It's so crazy. It feels like it was such a long time, but now it feels like it wasn't.
Woo! Thanks. When you're adapting a story that is so well known already, it must be a little bit of pressure that comes with that. There's a lot of anticipation about how it's going to be adapted. As a fan yourself of the book, what was a moment that you felt was really important to get right on screen?
I always said to Renée, I want to maintain the spirit of your book, and there were elements of the book that I really highlighted, the things that I was drawn to. Her dialogue is so poetic, the characters and situations that she had set up. And it was also really important to me to not have this movie go into something saccharine or kind of corny. My corny radar was really up, and there are movies there's a tradition of movies like this, whether it's romantic comedies or romantic dramas, or they actually even have a term for it, sick flick, I think is what studios call a movie about a guy who's terminally ill. And so I just was like, I wanted to pay homage to them, but I also wanted to make sure that I kept this story, grounded in reality. Even though, the fantasy element actually was something that I really seized on, and I was drawn to, because I love the idea that they imagine a world together, and because that feels so much more mature to me than how young the main characters are. And also it's so heartbreaking, the idea that
we should be so lucky to have a lifetime of memories with somebody was really important to me.
You touched on this a little bit earlier, I don't know if we said it, but this is your directorial debut, which is hard to believe. Myself included, obviously know you for your incredible filmography as an actor. 10 Things I Hate About You, it's Carlino's playbook. We have some fans in the house here. But was directing always the goal? When you're on these sets, are you looking, learning, listening, just taking it all in?
Okay, we're back. Thank you. No, I think I had started to think, oh, I would like to do, I don't know. On the one hand, I want to say I was like 16 walking around the streets of New York City with headphones on, imagining the opening sequence to movies or whatever. But it wasn't really, I always loved acting and was really into performing for the longest time. But then it was probably in the last 10 years that I started to think I'd really love to direct a movie. I had directed a short series and then a short film. But I was pulled in the acting direction, which was great, and it wasn't really until Gabby sent me this book that it gave me confidence to say like, oh yes, I can, this is the one.
I think it's really impressive that you have Gabby, but also Isabelle as an executive producer on this. Isabelle Fuhrman, who plays Charlotte.
Yes.
Which is incredible. I know the two of you work together on the Orphan franchise.
Our screen back, can anyone hear that? Our screen is like farting right now. I don't know why, but we're gonna pretend it's not happening.
We're just gonna keep
back to the movie.
Ambient noise in the background. But you and Isabelle had worked together on the Orphan franchise, and then Mena Massoud, just incredible, multi-talented individual. How involved were you in the casting, and did you see that chemistry between the two of them on day one?
So yeah, I worked with Isabelle on Orphan First Kill. I played her mom, whatever that. I mean, she was 23 playing an 11-year-old, so I guess that makes sense.
Julia, you are mother.
I mean, I am. I'm definitely in the mom category now as an actress, but that's okay. That's life. But I remember being on set. It was actually, I was adapting Wish You Were Here at the same time, very much paying attention to my role as an actress, but it was during COVID time, so we couldn't do anything when we had downtime. There was no going out or socializing. So I'd come home from work and I'd sit down to write Wish You Were Here, and then I'd go to work every day and I'd watch her on set, and I was like, wow, this girl is so talented. And she has so much stamina, like to be in every single scene every day and emoting, and it takes a lot of dedication and stamina, and I knew that I needed that for Wish You Were Here. So I was really confident about her, and luckily she really liked the script and jumped on board. Mena I had never met before, but I had seen Aladdin, and I had watched his TV show that he has. It's about veganism. It's not scripted, but you kind of get a sense of his personality, I guess. And I felt like, oh, he's such an old soul, and he seems like a really good soul, and so whatever that means. But you never know if two people are going to get along, but I kind of could guess that maybe they would, and then you hope for the best. And they were super. They were really professional. I think they really trusted each other and were kind with each other, and I really lucked out.
Yeah, it seems like you guys had absolutely no fun whatsoever on set. One look at any of your Instagrams, and it seems like the three of you were just bonded for life.
Yeah, the actors had so much fun. I think I had a lot of fun too, but directing is quite stressful in a great way. It's a lot of responsibility.
Absolutely. We also have to talk about Jennifer Grey and Kelsey Grammer. An incredible coupling. Never knew that they would be so wonderful together. And you even got a little bit of opera.
I did, yeah. That was something I wrote in because I had worked with Kelsey on a movie called The God Committee, and it was an indie movie where we didn't have trailers. We had dressing rooms or like cubicles or sometimes just barricades, and every time we'd have downtime in between scenes, he would be practicing opera. He was like belting out Man of La Mancha because he was rehearsing for his run in London that he did after that, which I saw, and he was phenomenal. So I was like, when he agreed to do this part, I was like, well, I have to have him singing. So I wrote the kitchen scene. And when I was trying to figure out what opera he should sing, I was watching a lot of Bugs Bunny.
There's the Bugs Bunny opera cartoon which inspired that.
Why? We're back.
You roll with the punches, Julia. I love this. I love this. Before we came out here about the music for this, so you have John Joseph Macaulay, but you also have Vanessa Carlton, which is pretty incredible. Saying that my millennial heart couldn't take it that Julia Stiles and Vanessa Carlton are working together. Is this the first time that you were able to collaborate on a project?
So this is the first movie that she scored, and John Macaulay is from a band called Deer Tick that they're married. But I've known Vanessa since high school. We weren't really friends in high school because we went to this performing arts school that we were just too busy doing our thing. She was a ballerina, I was an actress. But then in our 20s we became really good friends because she had this song, 1,000 Miles, that came out. I had movies that were becoming popular, and we just were like, this is amazing, we've worked so hard for this, but it's really scary, what is happening to our lives? And we stayed friends through our 20s and 30s and different walks of life, now both have families, and she had always said to me that she was really interested in scoring movies, and so when I was making Wish You Were Here, I was like, do you guys want to do this? And I love the music so much. I feel like they just elevated the movie, and it's kind of a character in the movie. I was really, really lucky for that. They're great. And then we licensed some existing songs too. I had a whole playlist, and my editors put it in temporarily, but you never know if you can afford the songs. But I had a great music supervisor, Jason Altschuler, and he got all the songs that I wanted. Nathaniel Rateliff's song that's featured in the movie when they paint the mural, and then when they go out on the pier, is a song I was obsessed with. I'm a huge fan, and we were able to get that one too. Also, the song that's playing when they take the mural down is one of Nathaniel Rateliff's songs. And I think from even like the first draft of the script, when I decided that the mural was going to be a set piece and it was going to be like the representation of their relationship, I knew that it was going to be really challenging. Like, how do you show death? And we don't really want to see him dying, so how do I really make everybody feel the impact of his death? And that song was on repeat in my head for now 5 years, and I could so see. I think even as I was writing the script, like timed to that song, her walking across the mural and then walking back and then writing the name of the title of the movie.
People say that directing a romance movies really is, there's so much strength in those intimate moments. It's the touches, it's the glances, it's that chemistry between the actors, which you did so well here. Obviously this is based off the book, but was there any other inspirations that you drew from that you really wanted to pay homage to in this film?
Actually, I think the book is a lot more explicit than my movie, but that's because you're reading it, you're not making people perform it or filming it. My inspiration, I don't know that it was like a movie reference, but you know, I hate sex scenes for the most part, and I hate filming them, I hate watching them, so I knew that I kind of didn't want that in this movie, and then I thought, well, okay, it's a movie about love and romance. How am I going to do that? And then I started to think, okay, you have to show intimacy. So what is intimacy? And it was a meditation on that. And then I really loved what Renée had written in the book, which is this game that they play where he says, tell me how we first met. And she starts weaving this story that's made up about their relationship. And I thought that was the thing that I wanted that connects them. But I was like, okay, let's make that sexy. And then I lucked out because when we filmed that scene, you know, and I still was leaving it open to like, maybe we'll show them kissing, maybe we're gonna have to show them get to the bed or something. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to do that, but maybe we have to. But when we filmed the scene, that 8-page scene of them dancing and telling this story, we filmed with a Steadicam, and I had planned to shoot other angles, but I didn't have to yell cut because the actors knew their lines, but the timing was perfect, and the scene held all the way through that dance, and when they go behind the curtain and then to the bed after they kiss, and it was so sexy because the way they're like whispering to, that was something that was the actors who did that. They performed it like a stage play, and it was so electric, just the way that they were physically intimate without showing anything more than a kiss.
There seems to be a resurgence of romance novel adaptations as of lately. Of course, this is a great example of one, but there's also The Idea of You, which came out last year, among some other ones. Why do you think that this genre is just so irresistible?
I think it's more necessary now. I mean, it's a really enjoyable genre, or it can be if done right. But I feel like the thing that drew me to Wish You Were Here initially was 5 years ago during COVID. I felt like, oh yes, we all are craving connection to other people, and not in a digital way, actually in a physical way, and close up way, and that has now held for 5 years, and I just feel it more and more that I'm a romantic at heart, so there's just something that we crave about the idea of falling in love, like really connecting to another person, and they see you, you see them, and then what this movie touches on is, how beautiful it is to be able to live a life with somebody else, and how special that is.
So then what are you reading now that you think you're going to adapt next?
I don't know yet. I have kernels of ideas. I have been reading a lot. A lot of the books that I've read that I'm like, oh, that would make a good movie. So does everybody else in Hollywood. Yeah, I don't know. And also just creatively, I'm just surfacing out of this movie. But I love the music part. I kind of have this little seedling of an idea that I would love to do a contemporary musical, like find an artist and take an existing album or an album that they write and create a story around that. But this is like literally a seedling of an idea. I don't even know who the artist would be. But I loved putting music to this picture. So
I mean, I can think of at least one artist, perhaps.
right.
Maybe Vanessa Carlton.
maybe, yes.
We'd love to see that.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit earlier about you grew up here and you grew up watching movies. What was the movie that made you want to make movies, that really made you fall in love with this as a profession?
Desperately Seeking Susan, which was a huge reference for this film, even though it's a lot, this movie is a lot more sad, I think, towards the end, or heartbreaking, hopefully. Desperately Seeking Susan was like seminal to my childhood, and then I watched it more as an adult leading up to this film, and it really holds up. And I referenced it to my cinematographer, the production designer, the costume designer, just in terms of the colors and like costumes and the look of this film. And I sent I slid into Susan Seidelman's DMs, the director of that movie, and because I had read her memoir too, and I said, can I send you my director's cut and can you give me notes? And she did, which was awesome. I love that movie so much. And it's all the kind of thing where like if I can watch it over and over again.
And say, what were her notes?
They were really specific. They were like at minute 145, I didn't quite understand what was happening here, or they were very specific.
So you had sort of like you really had a mentor with you, bringing you through this whole process.
Yeah.
Wow,
She was very generous that way.
That is incredible. I want to open this up to the audience. We have a few, if anybody has any questions, we have a couple minutes.
There's one, two.
Can you project?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Over the farting screen that we have back here.
I just wanted to know, there was a part where I kind of laughed. I don't know if it was intentional. I just wanted to know if it was part of the book or you put it in there. But it's like her friend just died. Her friend's boyfriend just died, and she just comes up there like, "You want Captain Crunch?"
Yeah.
Was that like in the book as well, or?
You know what? So the question was about the moment when Charlotte's on the couch grieving, and then her best friend Helen comes in and is hugging her and says, "I made you some Captain Crunch."
I mean, there's no better way to, react to something like that.
What's your name?
Oh, my name is Russ.
Russ over here chuckled, I guess, or laughed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be lighthearted. I mean, whether you laugh or it just makes you smile, like it's supposed to be lighthearted. That's the first little moment of trying to breathe life back into this girl, and I thought it was sweet. I think I have a hard time remembering. I do think the Captain Crunch thing was something that I responded to, so I seized on it.
Can I ask one more quick question?
Yeah.
So the scene where she took him out of the hospital, when the nurse said that she can do whatever she wants, did she mean that they can just, be in bed together? Is that what she meant? And then where did what she said tell her that it's okay to take him out? Or was that just her own idea? Because I was a little confused about it.
I think it's okay to be slightly. Nobody wants confusion, but I think that when the nurse, he's asking about when the nurse says, basically before they go out into the world from the hospital, when they go to the pier, what the nurse sort of agreed to and what Charlotte does. I don't think the nurse was saying you can go out for a day to the ocean. I think that I think she was saying you can take him out of this room, like there's a garden and a track on 5 or 4, whatever she says, like maybe you can stroll him around the block. She wasn't specific, but she was expecting, okay, yeah, you can go outside for a second, but I don't think she meant off campus. So that's why she's mad later when they come back so late, and Charlotte's just kind of pushing it as far as she can.
I'm curious, in those moments, obviously this is a heartbreaking ending, but you then bring in the levity at the end, bringing Seth back in and having that fun game between the two of them. But how do you power through those scenes that must be so heartbreaking, and then have to ask your actors, to do it again, or we're going to change the lighting, or we're going to have this very vulnerable moment. Again, how do you just keep your composure?
I would just, for some reason, the image of when they're on the sailboat and they're playing copycat game under the blanket, and then she pulls the blanket off and you see that they're actually in the hospital still, and they have been the whole time. That came to mind because that night, for some reason, we filmed over the blanket in the hospital, and that required lots of lighting, and it was so hot. And the actors were like so hot underneath the blanket, and I made them do it over and over and over again, and it was really late at night. And then we had to do it again because I thought we had filmed it and they weren't embracing in the bed, and I had him like looking like he was playing like he was asleep, and I was like, oh no, it looks like he's dead. That's not right. So we had to do it again. That was the one time where I really pushed them. I think because I'm an actress, I'm really gentle with my actors.
So anybody else with a question?
Yeah.
Over here in the blue shirt.
Yeah, first of all, thank you both so much for being here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was wondering, during post-production, when you were working with your editor, I was wondering how you decided what scenes you shot to keep and like which ones to cut.
Oh, that's a great question. He was asking about the editing and the process with the editor and what we decided to keep in and what we decided to lose. My editor, Melody London, has been editing since Jim Jarmusch started making films, and she's such a. I told her at the end of this, I was like, "Will you marry me if I get to ever make another movie again?" Because to be able to edit with her, she was such a good guide, pushed me a little bit, but just made me, but also really respected my vision and my opinions, and it was just such a delight to work with her. But she. It was a process, and actually was one of my favorite parts of the process because it's a little more relaxed. It's like 9 to 5 or 10 to 6. You have the footage, you come in, and that's where the crafting is done. She assembled it, which is basically just putting all the footage together and in everything that you have, but like at least making the scenes coherent and in the order of the script. And then you just go in and refine and refine and refine. And then once a week we would go to Fifen Studios, to their post-production house, because they have a big screening room, so we would watch it projected. And she always said to me, like, it's actually really important that you take time away so do the work, take the weekend away, take a little time away from it, refresh, and see it with fresh eyes. And then you go in and more specifically, scene by scene, what did we keep in and what did we lose? Well, one of the biggest changes in editing, because mostly structurally, she also said the DNA of the movie is always there. Like you can mess around with moving scenes and everything, but it's pretty much there from the script. So it was, the biggest change, I think, first was the opening. In the script, the opening was actually at the bar, and I just started on the close-ups of their faces. But then I needed something more than that, and I also liked the idea of putting the boat first, because then when we are on the boat, we'll kind of remember the beginning, or go, oh, that's what that was all about. There were so many little things that were cut. There was like a driving, we filmed a little bit in Florida because it was cold and I needed to be in a warm place for the boat. And by that time, there was supposed to be a driving sequence going home from when they sort of panic at the pier and then drive back to the hospital. But that scene had to go because we didn't shoot it right. It was like, we filmed it in Florida because it was kind of the thing that got punted till the end. And Florida had all this greenery and palm trees, and I couldn't avoid them in the car mirrors, car windows. So I just, that's why the driving is a little bit close, but it was actually a scene, like a full dialogue scene in the car. Anyway, and then what else? There was so much dialogue that I had written. I think I really overwrote the script, and it was good because it gave the actors a lot to think about and work with. But ultimately, I had lots of really long speeches that got trimmed, not because of the actors, but because it was just too much words.
You kept avocado al dente in
That's
there.
my favorite.
Really
one of my favorite lines in the movie.
It's like, thank you for giving it.
That is Renée in the book. That is a Renée line. One of my favorite lines is the "Do you believe in soulmates" thing. That's also Renée. But the avocado al dente is like, and especially the way Josh Carr says it in the tailgating scene, where he's like, "That's exactly how I like my avocados." That's my sense of humor.
So good. Could you quickly talk to us about filming the boat scene? Because everyone says that filming on water is notoriously like the hardest thing you can do, and you just decided that your first one you're going to take on water scenes.
Everybody for 4 years tried to talk me out of it. The producers were being good producers, doing their job, saying like, can it be something else? Because filming on a boat and on water is challenging and expensive. So in the book, I said no. I was very flexible. I was very good at like adapting to other constraints. I changed in the book it's a major league or minor league baseball game that she finds Seth at, and I switched it to football partially because I thought, oh, that's such like a masculine symbol of masculinity. But I was able to pivot with so many other things. But with the sailboat, I was like, no, it has to be a sailboat. To my producer's credit, she found a sailboat finally. But in the book, when he says, I have to get out of here, I have to go on a trip, take me somewhere because I can't die in this hospital, I need to do something. Then they go on a trip around the world. They go to like the Eiffel Tower and they take a private jet somewhere. And to me, it's fun to read, but it's like too frenetic for a film. And I just wanted to pick a really, really special place where they could be alone and we could land with the two characters for a bit. And it seemed cinematic and also like, there's movement and freedom involved. That's why I really wanted to be on a sailboat.
Do you have any other questions? I'm gonna say I saw a hand here.
He's asking how long it took to film the movie and which I prefer, or if I want to do directing again.
Would you direct yourself and act?
No. I did not know how Ben Affleck and all those Bradley Cooper. I just feel like it's too much. It's too many like your brain in different directions and also. So there was a scene. Like there was talk. Everyone kept saying like at one point we thought maybe we could get more money for the movie, more financing if I was in it a little bit. There wasn't a part for me really, but also I didn't want to step in front of the camera. But for a second there was one scene in the restaurant that I had written that never made it in the film. We didn't film it. I was just like, we don't need it. There was a scene in the restaurant where I was going to be one of the customers. I was going to be like a mom with her really annoying toddler throwing stuff at the waitress. But the mom's not correcting the kid. But it was like, we just didn't need it. And I also thought it would be really distracting. I thought like, oh my God, if in the middle of the movie, all of a sudden, my recognizable face, and you know that I'm directing it, it's just like, it completely takes you out of the story, and I didn't want that. Then I thought maybe I would do like an extra, like walk in the background maybe, but I was too shy, and I was too busy with directing the movie. But I'm 100% hooked. I absolutely loved the experience of making this movie. It was the most exhilarating and energizing experience of my career, and I really would love to do it again. There was another part of your question. So we filmed for a month, but there's pre-production and post-production after that is a few months. So all in all, it's like a year to make the whole thing. But then it was 5 years from like developing the script, getting it financed, casting, and then being in production, and then in post-production. Yeah, you have to really like the story that you're telling. But this really sustained my interest. Like, it's gotten deeper and more meaningful for me in those 5 years.
I think we might have time for one or two more. Anyone else? I feel, yeah, I saw your hand pop up.
Mike will say a comment, more than a question, but first, thank you for being here. It's awesome.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I found myself the whole movie just saying, like, that's not how life works. You know what I mean? Like, over and over again, just being like, oh, like, but then, like, my husband and I had a one-night stand and got married very quickly.
See?
It was nice to see a movie where it's, like, breaks all the rules of what you think life is supposed to be like. Is there an example of, like, how that's happened in your life? Kind of, like, parallel to the movie?
I keep thinking, which ex-boyfriend of mine is going to think that this movie is about him? None of them. But in terms of this is not what happens in real life, I understand that. But you know, a lot of people say they met their significant other on a one-night stand and ran off into the sunset. I also think that. One of the things that is not in the book that I thought of 3 weeks before we were supposed to start shooting, and I changed it in the script because we had to simplify the sailing sequence. We just didn't have, it was too complicated. I thought, okay, how do I simplify this? And I was so drawn to the idea that they make up this story about their relationship and she's telling him stories. And I also was drawn to the image of the tent that I thought, oh, they'll be playing a game under the blanket and then she'll pull the blanket off. And it turns out they were in the hospital all along. And that to me like makes the whole movie. To me, sorry. But
No, I agree. That was the chills moment for me when they pulled the blanket off and you realize, oh, they've been here. It doesn't matter because they're together, and that's
that's like even more heartbreaking. And that they, and she did that for him, but then also like they didn't really get to go out in the world, but they did have this at least imaginary good time together.
To his question, to add to that, is there something about this process that surprised you? Similar to, this is not the way that life works. All of a sudden you walk into a set and now you're coming on as a director. Things are a little bit different. Is there something about this process that you didn't see coming, that you're really proud of tackling?
That I didn't see coming. I don't know. There were a lot of things that I didn't see coming, and then there were the tackling part of it was actually kind of the part of the joy of directing, or that's what I really loved. I really loved, as frustrating as certain challenges can be, I kind of really loved problem solving. I liked, for instance, that sailing, tent copycat game thing in the hospital. That to me is like thinking about like, okay, with the limitations that we have, what can I do? And sometimes the best results come out of it, if you can think creatively and think on your feet. The most challenging night was the scenes in the stadium, and they're supposed to be really, really fun, but that night was and I kept.
Do tell.
It was like everything that could go wrong was going wrong. The trucks arrived late. There was wind going through that we didn't see. We didn't hear this when we did the tech scout or the location scout. There was wind going through the bleachers that was making this hissing sound that destroyed all the audio. And we were getting delayed, and it was all night long, and I ended up cutting 2 pages of dialogue at the last minute, which was fine, we didn't need it, but just to get through the day. But I made it, and we finished it, and I was happy with it, and I kept the sparkly football jacket that Helen wears in that scene as a trophy that I survived.
So we're gonna see you walking around New York with the sparkly. Yes.
You can buy one on Amazon too if you Google it.
Also, quick
Oh my
shout
God, could we start a trend of like women wearing the sparkly football jacket, please?
We have a sparkly blazer on.
I mean, I'm obviously into sparkles. Desperately seeking Susan.
We are. And say I loved the quick shout out to Grillo's Pickles. That
Yes.
sweatshirt. I'm a big Grillo's Pickles fan.
That's my costume designer.
was
She
amazing.
took the Desperately Seeking Susan reference and ran with it, especially with Helen.
I love that. One more question. Somebody, maybe, I love you guys, but maybe not from the front row. Yeah, up here.
Oh, thank you. The line, that's such a wonderful compliment. The line about the mom saying to Charlotte, you never had the chance to fight. He never had the chance to annoy you. She was saying that made her laugh and cry. That's what I want. Yes, that speech was way longer, and then I distilled it to what I thought was the most important, which is that line. And it was just that is in the book. Most of the dialogue is in the book. I just pulled it.
Yeah, that really, that really hits. How do you find that tone, that line between sort of coming back to the first question, finding that the levity and the light moments, but also being honest about how heartbreaking a situation like this is, and knowing that there's so many people who are going to be watching that, who are going to say, I can see myself in this character. I have been through this. I know what that pain looks like.
Maybe with the being with somebody who is terminally ill, yes, but I think certainly just being a young woman, aside from that, and him having cancer and being sick is obviously very significant, but it really to me was like, this is just the obstacle that keeps them. It's a classic device, which is these star-crossed lovers want to be together and they should be together, but there's some obstacle that's tearing them apart. But I hope that young women can relate to a lot of it and feel seen with a lot of it, and the one night stand and the being ghosted and the what did I say something wrong kind of thing. Here's this guy Seth who's for all intents and purposes perfect and kind and gentle and patient, but just her heart is distracted by somebody else. And then I hope that the last line of the movie I love, and it is the letter from Adam to Charlotte's second husband, to another man, saying, I hope you know how lucky you are. That to me is like, I hope that young men out there take it with them. Just women too. I feel like women need to hear it just to know that they deserve to be appreciated and celebrated. I'm corny, sorry.
We appreciate you. We thank you for being here tonight. Thank you all for also being here. Again,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Order your football jackets on Amazon. Tell your sisters.
Thank you, everyone.